What's up guys, Wholesome Joe back with another 3D printing tutorial video. This time I'm going to show you guys how I do my supports for my Power Rangers helmets. I think I've done a video kind of similar to this before, but I wanted to revisit it because my technique has changed just a little bit. I'm using Cura for this. You can use other slicers like Orca Slicer or Prusa Slicer or whatever you have, as long as you have the ability to add custom supports, because we're going to be using custom supports. We're not going to be using auto supports at all, except for in one specific instance, which I will explain to you. So we're just going to jump right into this. So I already have this Blue Ranger helmet that I got from Nellie's Cosplay and Props, I believe, that I downloaded from Colts 3D. I get a lot of my Power Rangers helmet files from there. I don't think this one is like totally screen accurate, but it looks close enough for me, so we're going to go with it. So when you open it up in Cura, it pretty much orients it just like this, and this is pretty much how I want to keep it. Now if your helmet doesn't open in this orientation, as long as it has a flat back like this one does, you can lay it just like this and you won't need any supports around the bottom at all. Now some of the other helmets that you can print that don't have completely flat bottoms, like the Green Ranger helmet for example, has like a slanted part that won't let it sit completely flat. You will have to put supports all the way around this bottom half. But for like this one, I think the Red Ranger helmet, and I think maybe even the Black Ranger helmet, Yellow Ranger, Pink Ranger, I believe, all of those you can do flat on the bed, face up, just like this one is. Now if you want to scale this up, you would go over to your scaling tool and just put this whatever you've determined the right size is. I have another video that shows you how to size the helmet to your head. I'll try to link that in this video so you can check it out. There's a bunch of different ways you can go about doing that. I'm not going to explain that in this video, so we're just going to assume you already know how big the helmet needs to be, but you need, if you want to scale it, I usually scale these Blue Ranger helmets up to 107%. That gets it to be this about the size of like the Lightning collection. I give these to people sometimes, and they usually want, us Americans have big heads, so you have to scale it up quite a bit. Anyway, it'll still fit on the bed. I'm using a CR10S, a Creality CR10S for this. This is kind of an old printer, but it has a 300 by 300 by 300 print bed size, which is pretty much the bare minimum, I think, to be able to print these helmets without breaking them up. And I have another video that shows you how to print a helmet like this on like an Ender 3. I don't recommend doing that if you can avoid it. So if you have a bigger printer, this is definitely the way to go. So once you have it scaled up, you have all your printer settings. You can choose whatever you want for those, for whatever filament you're using and whatever printer you're using. Like I said, I'm using a CR10. And the most important thing though is that you have it oriented like this. Then you're going to go over here on the left. I have installed this extension for custom supports. Some of the slicers have a custom supports option built into it. You don't have to download anything, but Cura does not. I don't even think this is the newest version of Cura. I need to kind of update that, I guess. I don't even know why I'm still using Cura. A lot of people have moved on from it. Anyway, it's what I've always used, so I'm used to it. But to get this custom extension, you would go to the marketplace over here in the top right hand corner. You can't see my mouse for some reason. I'm not sure why. You would basically come down here and type in custom supports in the browser. I don't think it's going to show. Yeah, it is. There it is. Custom supports reborn. This has changed a couple of times, but this is the one currently that you would want to download. You would just basically install it by clicking this blue install button next to that one. I already have it installed, so I don't have to do that. And then it'll install it, and that's pretty much it. You'll have it installed. It'll show up over here on the left. You'll click on it, and then you'll be able to add custom supports. You can choose a bunch of different options like cylinder, a tube, a cube, a abutment, or however you say that, line, model. The only ones I ever use is cube, and sometimes I'll use the cylinder, but typically I like to use the cube. And I'm going to I will vary the size from either 3 millimeters to 4 depending on where I'm putting the supports, but generally 3 is about right for most applications. And so where I usually start is if you see right here. Now a lot of people will see all this red right here and they're like, oh, I need supports. I need supports everywhere where there's red. For these helmets, you don't. There's a lot that the 3D printers can do, and with the magic of 3D printing, can print a lot of this without any support. So I see what a lot of people do is they'll try to stand the helmet up straight, or they'll just do auto supports, and it'll just put a massive amount of supports in here, and it'll take a week to print, and you'll just waste a ton of filament. You really only need supports in a couple of places. You need supports right here under the neck area. I really wish my mouse was working.
A few moments later.
So now we have a working cursor. So my apologies for that. We're just gonna do a fancy edit. The only 3 places you need supports for this helmet are right here around the neckline. You need some right here in this little beak area, and you need a couple in this mouth area. And then I usually, for good measure, there's like 1 or 2 spots in this little area right here that if you aren't paying attention, there will be some spots where where there needs to be a support and you won't have one there. But this entire mouth doesn't need supports, even though this says it does. And I'll show you how to kind of check that. But we'll start by going ahead and adding. We're just going to go ahead and add these. So if you have your helmet selected, you got your custom support selected over here. I'm going to choose the cylinder, not the cylinder, the cube. And then I'm just going to go ahead and click on the model, which is going to add a support. We'll zoom in, move around. I'm just going to put some right here. All I'm doing is clicking and just making a little line of them. Doesn't have to be super accurate as long as they're pretty much in line with each other. And that's pretty much, maybe we'll stick another one right there and another one on the tip just to make sure we get all that covered. And that's pretty much it. That's all you need right there. Don't need any supports over there. And then we're going to throw these in here. You probably can get away with just doing it right here. So you just, same thing, just going all the way down. And sometimes if you add too many of these supports, your computer will start to bog down and it'll like take forever for the next one to appear. But we're not putting that many on this one, so we should be okay. You can go all the way down to here or all the way down to here, but you don't really need to. You can stop right there. So we got the supports there. And then I know that I'm going to need some right here, so I'm just going to put a couple here, couple here, couple there, couple there, just kind of in the center of that mouth area. I probably don't need even this many, but just for good measure. So we got those there, and then I know that I'm going to need some in this mouth area, but I'm not entirely sure where. Even though I've supported this helmet like 10 times, you don't got to worry about the ones that are like kind of sticking through. It won't print that way. So what I'm going to do to figure out exactly where the rest of these supports need to be is I'm going to slice this just like it is, and we're going to make sure that we have generate support turned off, because I don't want it to add auto supports. The only supports it's going to have are the ones I've added to it. Looks like we like froze. There we go. Yeah, it does that sometimes. So we're gonna go ahead and slice it, and then I'll see you in just a minute because it takes a second to slice.
2,000 years later.
Alright, so we finished slicing. It says it's going to take 2 days and 13 hours, 48 minutes. It's going to use 411 grams of filament. That's about right for this printer. So the way we're going to see what spots we still need to catch with supports is we're actually going to go to the preview tab up here in the top, so we can see what it will look like when it's printed. And as you can see, I'm using a raft, If your printer is perfectly level and you don't need a raft, then by all means skip the raft, but I can never get mine to stick without the raft, so I use the raft. So here we go. So basically what we're going to do, we're going to come to the top here, and you can see how it's printed everything. Over here on the right hand side, this is like basically, it'll show you layer by layer if you drag this down. So I'm just gonna, you can see where that nose part is. We added those supports there, and you see there's like a little part right here that would be printing in midair. This is printing in midair, but we basically got it when we added those supports that we added. So now it won't print, you know. And we probably could add another one, but I think we'll be okay with just that. And then we're gonna go down, and you can see where these were. That's why we needed those there, because if you keep moving it, like if I go up, and you can use the keys to go literally layer by layer. And I probably actually didn't need any right there, now that I'm looking at it, because there's never a point where it's printing in just midair. So it'd probably be okay, but I'm gonna leave those there just for, it's always better to be safe than sorry. But when we get down here, we're going to see right there. So you see this little patch right here. That lets me know that that's going to print in midair, and you've got to have a support there. So all I'm going to do is just add 1 or 2, maybe 3 or 4 right there in that spot. And then, oh, it's not working now. And then I'm going to keep doing that until I see another spot like that. And I don't think I'm gonna see another one until this little area right here could be problematic. So I'm probably just gonna run some supports right down the middle of that. And then there's gonna be another one about right there. Yeah. So there's another one. So I'm gonna just run some supports, kind of make a T right there. And that should be the last one. Yeah. Yeah, so we're going to come back to prepare. We're going to go back to our supports. And then I think because I want to cover a little bit more room, I'm going to change this to 4 instead of 3. And then I'm just going to hit support there, support there, support there, support there, support there, support there. And then I'm going to do another row right next to it. 2, 3. That's probably overkill, but just to be sure, it's probably good. So then we're going to slice it one more time to make sure we actually hit the spots. So let's wait for it to slice again.
1 eternity later.
Alright, we're back again. Sliced a second time. You got to be patient with this a little bit, because sometimes the slicing process takes a while. So we're going to go back to preview, and then we're going to have the same thing again. And so now you can see where I added those extra supports. But now, when I move that, you see there's a support there in that questionable spot. And if I keep going up, you'll see that other questionable spot now has a support under it. So we should be good to go with that. And that's pretty much it. That's all the supports you need for this helmet. So you would be able to print this just like this, and look how few supports that is. Like, look how much filament you saved. And I even kind of went a little bit overboard. We didn't really need all of these. We didn't really need this line right here. Really all we needed is those. But just to be safe, but you don't need any right here. You don't need any of this part right here. All that'll print just fine without any supports right there. So this is the front half. So let's jump to the back half and do the same thing, because I need to show you how to do the whole helmet if you're going to do it. Because somebody will comment and say, I don't know how to do the back half. The back half is different, Joe. you're right, it is a little bit different, but it's mostly the same. And the other technique I was telling you about, we're going to do that on the back half. So let's sadly delete this, and then we're going to open the back half. And here's the first thing. If you notice, when we opened the front half, it pretty much opened the way we needed it to open. Now, some people will tell you to print the back halves standing up like this. You could just put supports right there and some down there. But I was told by another helmet maker that because of the way PLA prints and the heat involved and the fact that PLA shrinks a little bit when it's printing, you're going to run into alignment issues if you print the front and back in different orientations from each other. What I mean by that is that you basically need to print this in the same orientation, or as close to as you printed the front half. So I'm going to do it face down like this, and you're going to be able to do this for most helmets. That you notice, unlike the front half, this back half doesn't sit flush on the ground. Part of it does, but there's this lip because Nelly's Cosplay added this alignment tab right here. You can add these, by some other method because you kind of need them to align the two pieces together. But he put them they put them in the print itself, or in the file itself, so you have to add supports because of that. So first you could just go into custom supports, go back to our cube, and you could just do this and just literally do it by hand and put 1,000 supports around the outside of this like that. But that's going to take forever. We don't really need to do that. So basically, in this one, we are going to actually tell it to do auto support. So I'm going to go back over here and click on generate support. And it's going to take forever to do that. Okay, and then, so make sure that's checked on the back half, not for the front half. And then instead of using custom supports, we're going to do support blocker right here. And I believe this just comes with the custom supports, but if it doesn't, you can come back over here to the marketplace, which I'm not sure it actually showed when I talked about this earlier. Maybe it did. Perhaps. Weird. Okay, but it's in the marketplace up here. So anyway, what you'll do is you'll click on the support blocker, and then you'll click somewhere on your model, which will create this little cube. Make sure that's selected, and now you can manipulate this as if it were another 3D object. So you can scale it, you can move it, you can rotate it. So I'm going to click on scale. I'm going to actually turn off the uniform scaling on this. And also mention, I didn't scale the back half of the helmet to be 107 like I did the other one, but you want to make sure the back half of this helmet is the same scale as the front half, or they won't align with each other. But since I have the support blocker selected, I'm scaling that and not the helmet, so don't get too confused because the menu looks the same. So anyway, I'm gonna basically go ahead and make this bigger, extend the X, and then do the Y. I think that's Y. Yeah. And I'm just gonna go ahead and make this kind of the whole length of the helmet, and then I'm gonna make this wider too, and then do Z to make it thicker. And then we're just gonna switch over to the move tool. And then we're just going to cover up pretty much all of this section that says it needs these supports here. And what this is going to do is tell Cura not to automatically put supports there. It's going to block it from adding supports there. But anywhere I don't have these support blockers, it's going to automatically add supports, which means I don't have to go through and manually add all these supports. This might take less time. It might actually take more time. I'm not sure. We're going to do it anyway because I think it's a little easier. But I know that we do need supports around this neckline right here. So I'm going to just scoot this up just to where we need those supports. So you can see I left that neckline area over. And believe it or not, that's the only place that we really need supports except for on this outer edge. And that's where the automatic supports are going to go. So we're going to leave that like it is. Then I'm going to come over here and add another support blocker. And this one, make sure you have it selected. Again, that's going to trip people up. Going to make this like this. You just have to fiddle around with it because basically I got to cover up all this space. And then I'm going to move it like that. And so that gets that. So now none of that's going to have supports in it. And then for this one, since it's the same on the other side, I'm just going to multiply it. And I'm going to just move that one to the other side. Like so. And then I think the only other place we really need them is right here and right here. I honestly don't know if the supports will actually print there, but we're going to do it anyway. So I'm going to add another one right here. We're going to do the same thing. Scale it. Move it. X it up and then do some Z action. We're just going to make sure that we get that area there. Like so, and keep on going. Like that. Okay, and I think that gets what we need. Yep. Because you see the edge is still good. And then we'll do the same thing as we did on the other side. We'll multiply it by 1. And then we're just going to slide it to the other side to get that section right there. And I think we should be good to go. So now we have support blockers on all that. And the only parts that we have open for auto supports are the places where you see the bright red. And we need supports there. So now we're going to slice this. Okay, and we're going to slice. Okay, and this one's going to take a day and 5 hours. He's 209 grams. Sounds about right for this printer. And we're going to click on preview. And as you can see now, looks like we might have missed a spot here because there's still some supports getting put on either side right there. But you can see it added the ones around the bottom that we needed. You could probably leave this. It's not going to use too much filament. But we're going to fix it because I don't want that to use that much filament. So I'm going to come back here and see where we missed. Looks like it could be. I probably just need to extend this out on this side. Like that. I think. Same thing with this one. Do this too. We'll just do this. Or just get a double whammy. And then we'll see how we're looking. Alright, we'll reslice that. See if that gets rid of that. You have to play with it a little bit, mess around with it to get it to work just right. But this is another way to do it. You could have also just manually added all of those supports around the outside. I just didn't want to, but you could do it that way too. You could just manually add those. Alright, and then we'll preview again. Let's see, and it's still adding those. I'm not sure why it's putting those there. Definitely something I'm doing. Let's try one more time. So it looks like let's do this. We can't do that one all the way down because then we'll lose some of the area we need there to be supports, which is right there. So we have to go that far. We'll get it as close as we can. Okay. This is my last attempt. If it doesn't take them away, we're just gonna call that a close enough. Preview. Yeah, and it's still adding them there. I don't understand why. There's clearly something I'm missing. Maybe it's this one. Yeah, that's what it is. Okay. So we're gonna do this. Yes, I think it's this one. Yeah, I think that's the culprit right there. And I think this has to be all the way up there. This has to be all the way up there. So we're gonna go. Basically, I gotta have the whole helmet covered there, or it's not gonna take them away. Alright, let's try one more time. Slicing. Preview. Aha. So as you see, we got rid of most of them. There's a couple more on this side. And now we're missing some supports here for some reason. I think it's because we put this too far down. Yeah, I see it covering it. Okay, like this. And I fully admit now that it would have taken less time to just put them all in there manually. Okay. Okay. Do we get it all? Probably not. And it looks like we were finally successful. Okay, that took a lot longer than it should have. But as you can see, there are no supports where there shouldn't be, and there are supports where there should be. And that's pretty much it. That's how you add custom supports to a Power Rangers helmet. Hopefully this video was helpful. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. Got other videos coming, more Power Rangers related stuff, more Ghostbusters related stuff, and let me know what you guys want to see. All right, peace.